Hi, I'm James Longman. We have breaking news. A federal judge has found probable cause that the Trump administration acted in contempt of court. This is related to Trump officials defying that judge's order to turn two planes carrying alleged Venezuelan gang members to El Salvador around. Let's bring in senior Washington reporter Devin Dwyer for more. Devin, how significant is this and what comes next?
This is an extraordinary development, James. It's not every day that the federal district courts hold the government of the United States, the executive branch, in contempt of court in violation of a court order. This is just coming down now from Judge Jeb Boasberg, of course, an appointee of George Bush, later elevated by Barack Obama, who had been overseeing that controversial case of the president's use of the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to whisk hundreds of Venezuelan alleged gang members to that prison in El Salvador back in March. He did it without giving those men any chance to appeal or challenge their removal to a third country. And what Judge Boasberg said now today, that the actions of the government at that time by sending those planes, not turning them around back in March, was a willful disregard for its order. He goes on to say, quoting Chief Justice Marshall, the first Chief Justice of the United States, that allowing this to go unheeded, it would be a solemn mockery of the Constitution itself. Judge Boasberg now saying he's going to be deposing members of the administration to answer for what went down back in March. After he issued that order, those planes continued. He has a lot of tools at his disposal. He can prosecute them, he says, for contempt, including by appointing an independent attorney to bring those involved with that procedure to justice. And we should say, James, that this is an interesting case because the Supreme Court of the United States a few weeks ago said that Judge Boasberg's order did not lack jurisdiction. So the order was struck down, but what Judge Boasberg is saying is that at the time it was issued, it was to be followed. And that's the way the rule of law works in this country. It was not abided, and now he's seeking to hold the administration to account.
So what do you think is going to happen next? I mean, every time these judges put their heads above the parapet, they put themselves up for quite a lot of criticism. I mean, what do you expect the Trump administration is going to say about this?
Well, Boasberg has already been a punching bag of the administration. He has been lambasted for weeks by Trump officials, including the president himself. And you'll remember that Chief Justice John Roberts, the top jurist in this country, issued that extraordinary rebuke of the president last month, saying that Boasberg and others were to be respected. They were not to be attacked, that there is a due process in this country. And so even though we expect the Trump administration to resist this contempt finding, they will challenge it. They will likely appeal it. It will likely go back to the U.S. Supreme Court. Every indication I have seen, James, is that the Supreme Court will stand by Judge Boasberg if it gets there. So this is quite an extraordinary standoff. As I said yesterday on the air, rule of law is not a sexy topic, but it is the glue that holds the system together. And when you start to have elected officials, either in the Congress or in the White House, being the judge of their own case, that's when the system begins to fall apart. And today, Judge Boasberg is taking a stand for that process.
Well, and we have a separate federal judge scolding the Trump administration over another issue, saying it's done nothing to return the Maryland man who's been mistakenly deported to El Salvador. The Supreme Court had ordered the administration to facilitate the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from the notorious prison there. So what's going on in that case?
Yes, and she could very well be headed for a contempt finding as well. She is in the investigative stage, a similar process that Judge Boasberg undertook, deposing senior officials in the administration, first to get the facts and then decide whether or not they willfully disregarded her order. In this case now that has gained worldwide attention, really, of this man from Maryland who was in the country illegally but sent wrongly by the administration's own admission to El Salvador. Judge Sheenis is now trying to figure out whether or not the administration should be held in contempt for failing to facilitate his return. And she said that she will take 2 weeks now to gather those facts. But as we were discussing last hour, she also has limited tools at her disposal. But this contempt finding is a significant one in the case of those 200 Venezuelans. Sheenis could do the same thing. And the administration is going to be pressed when both of these cases likely go back to the Supreme Court, James.
Sure will. Senior Washington reporter Devin Dwyer, thank you.